Hey there, I'm alive. That's what it's telling me. It's saying I'm alive. But I'm not. You can't hear me, probably. All right, testing. I don't know if it goes to this input then. Hello? I don't know. If you like me screaming in your ear, like an ASMR video. Give me a like. Give me a like. Hey, we got one viewer. Let's see who it is. This program is powered by Coca-Cola. We've gone on the repeat diet, so just drink Coca-Cola all day, and your thyroid will magically get better. The Red Can cult. All right, two people, two feds in the chat. What's up? Can you hear me? Raphael G, the original G. Yes, it's always good to see you too, Raphael. Thanks for the like. All right, so I guess because all the viewers are coming in, people can hear me. Without further ado, I glow, baby, radioactive. All right, so just read a short article here, because I'm always talking about the Pan Party, but I don't think I got into it very much. And this was something. Remember that I think William F. Buckley set up the CIA office in Mexico, and so this was a joint alliance between fascists in Mexico, um, the Anglo-American division of the CIA, and that the Anglo-American Catholic uh, doughboys, and so this is called the FBI in alliance with certain Soviet individuals. And you have to remember that these movements are deliberately designed to destroy the economy in those countries, and that's why they don't really care who they work with. Um, as long as these trusts are serving foreign interests and not the national interests of that country that they want to destroy, it's fine. They don't care. This is a complete repudiation. Repudiation? Is that what the right word? It's a complete disregard for what was called the Monroe Doctrine, which was the idea that the U.S. would protect all of the countries within this hemisphere, or within the hemisphere, and also generally that's contingent upon protecting South America from foreign machinations. And instead, the general idea is to destroy and subjugate these countries in South America, and do that by creating this endless kind of narco-terrorist, fascist versus communist division within those countries. Anyway, FBI implicated an alliance between pan-fascists and the Soviets. PSUM by Timothy Rush, January 24th, 1984. In the midst of the IMF-supervised economic devastation of Mexico, the Mexican equivalent of the German Nazi Party, the Partido de Acción Nacional, PAN, is preparing the conditions for a military coup against the constitutional republic. This evaluation, until now shared privately along top circles of Mexican officials, was made public by Xicotencatl Levia. Here, I'll put this in the... that would be Buckley plus Dulles, brother. Yeah. Okay, so I put the link to the article in the chat as well. I know people like to actually know that I'm not just thinking this all up in my head. The governor of Xicotencatl Levia, the governor of Baja California Norte, in a speech January 10. The PAN party is forming a parallel municipal government in the Baja capital, of Mexicali, he warned. This represents political terrorism which must be stopped. Coup d'etat and the betrayal of the nation are based politically and philosophically on these attitudes. Livia is a protege of President Miguel de la Madrid. That the message comes from the president himself is more than likely. In view of an extraordinary summit of entirety of the Mexican cabinet and all 31 governors, convened by de la Madrid on January 11th, through the principle announced purpose of the summit was to implement more active population control programs. It is known that there was a thorough review of current political and economic fortunes of the nation, and that de la Madrid emphasized that the PAN and its backers represented a threat to basic institutions of the country. Over recent weeks, PAN leaders have publicly ratified what previously had been kept under wraps, except for exposés in EIR and related publications, that such a coup would be carried out on behalf of a Nazi communist alliance of the PAN and the leading KGB directed control point in the country, the Partido Socialista Unificado de Mexico, PSUM, formerly the Mexican Communist Party. Active FBI promotion of this Nazi KGB menace on the U.S. border, CEIR September 6, 1983, is underscored by new information indicating the FBI had consciously undermined U.S. narcotics interdiction capabilities along the western sections of the U.S. Mexican border over the past year in order to facilitate the rise of the pan coordinated drug trafficking through Mexico's northwest corridor. And remember, the Pan Party is supposed to be this great Christian, kind of pro feudalist, great Catholic, pro feudalist, pro integralist party under which tradition, family, and property of the Braganzas um, was a minority party. And the example that they offer is these. Eventually, they're caught with these feudal drug cultivation farms where they have all their captured enemies and peasants. And maybe I'll dig that up at some point, but that's the model that people, trad cats in first world, they think that these kinds of systems are you know so noble and great. They don't realize when it's practically implemented in these countries what it actually turns out to be. At the same time, high level intelligence sources in the United States stress that East German intelligence, even more than the KGB, may be the most active on the ground controller of the communist side of the alliance. Operational unity. The alliance between the Nazis of the National Action Party and the Communists of the United Socialist Party of Mexico became an issue on the national scope and full public knowledge beginning January 9th, when the leftist daily Unam Masuno began a series of front page interviews with the four candidates of the PAN Party presidency to be held in February. Jesus Gonzalez Schmal, president of the Political Commission of the PAN and a strong contender for the party presidency, declared that the PAN will henceforth champion not only its own claims of human rights violations in states such as Puebla and Tamaulipas, but also the PSUMs in such cases as Yucatan and the Pascual labor dispute. The announcement was equivalent in the United States of announcing that Bill Buckley and Roy Cohn have joined their forces with CPUSA boss Gus Hall. I don't know exactly when that occurred, but no, this is called Buckley in Mexico. This is the kinds of operations that Buckley's running. I think this is the only mention of Buckley in this particular article, but just trying to back up the claim that the PAN is a Nazi communist party, and the same kind of operation that Buckley was running in the United States, which is controlled left and right, is the same thing that's going on in Mexico. The thumbnail that I put in is at Malcolm Forbes' 70th birthday party, and it's Robert Maxwell and William F. Buckley. And if you remember, Maxwell is also involved in these World Anti-Communist League shenanigans because of his strong support and business relationships with the Moonies, the unification cult. And the KGB had called Robert Maxwell the second Kissinger. And so, also present at that party with Malcolm Forbes was Donald Trump and Henry Kissinger. Um, but anyway, just notes on that thumbnail. So, Yucatan in the southern states of Oaxaca is a deployment center for international terrorists, many of them coming from Central America and West Germany. It was wrested from the hands of the Peace Direction Coalition only last month, and armed peace gangs continue to threaten the peace. The Pasco labor dispute, where a communist lawyer was recently kidnapped and then released by unknown parties, is the latest communist cause célèbre. Edmundo Gurzo, another of the PAN candidates for the party president, demanded in his interview 2 days later that a real multi-party system must be created in Mexico, in which other parties as serious as PAN, such as the PSUM and the PRT, Revolutionary Party of Workers, a Trotskyist pro-terror grouplet, work together to break the control of the Mexico's hegemonic Institutional Revolutionary Party, the PRI. The Secretary General of the PAN, Bernardo Batis, declared to Uno Masuno, "What we want is that the struggles of Mexico be well known outside the country, struggles by serious groups as important as PSUM, which seek, like the PAN, to democratize the country." Batis and other PAN leaders signaled out the Mexican Labor Party, PLM, led by Mexican associates of Lyndon LaRouche, as the enemy of PAN most fears as it intensifies this alliance. 2 weeks ago, a leader of Mexican Labor Party in the town of Navajoa, Sinaloa, was stabbed and seriously wounded by PAN-deployed drug runner. In his January 9th interview, Gonzalez Schmal declared that the moment for action has come, the moment to take power to defend the vote. We must use non-conventional political resources, legal violence, in order to exercise legitimate self-defense. Gurza stated that the PAN is not afraid that violence might result from its tactics, since the responsibility will lie with the PRI. In the same insurrectionary tones, PAN federal deputy from Sinaloa, Rodolfo Pena Farber, called for the turning of our backs on the government. No longer will we accept government programs. With this, government will be broken. And this concept of local control, which I think is maybe an idea of the Trotskyists and Antonio Gramsci and other various anarcho-syndicalist leaning parties, whether they're on the left or the right. Reciprocated warmth. The public Nazi infatuation with the communists is reciprocal. Unomo Suno, long an outlet of the PSUM-oriented propaganda, editorialized the first day a splashing series of interviews that, through the paper, did not favor the PAN. It must be recognized that the party was making positive contributions to the country at this time. The editorial signaled out for praise the role of the founder of the PAN in 1939. Manuel Gomez Morin, the man who gutted Mexicans' efforts to develop a Hamiltonian banking system from the inside during the 1920s and the early 1930s, and who established the PAN as an extension of Nazi-fascist networks on the eve of World War II. It was in September 1939 that the PAN was founded, the month Germany and the Soviet Union jointly moved into Poland to divide up the first spoils of the Hitler-Stalin Pact. The left terrorist PRT party first established joint operations with the PAN in July 1982, ostensibly to defend the vote. The first public joint PAN-PSUM development was a famous march of PAN and PSUM activists arm in arm down the main street of Coloacan, Sinaloa, after local elections in November 1983. Just as the PAN has its alternative city government now establishing offices and beginning to dispatch businesses in Mexicali and Mazatlan, so the PSUM has established a second city hall in the southern stronghold Yucatan. PAN, Hitler was right. There is nothing hyperbolic in the statement that PAN leadership is Nazi, although many of the members of the party, a growing mass following, are simply expressing rage at the consequences of the government-backed IMF austerity program. among the latest illustrations. In Chihuahua, the state in which Japan has its most complete control on the local level after sweeping municipal elections in mid 1983, carefully lettered wall slogans are sprouting in major cities proclaiming that Hitler was right. Chihuahua shares borders with Texas and New Mexico. And so, if you're wondering why the government was broken down so badly in Mexico, why like all these drug cartels run the police and things like this, it's partly because of these parties that are going to local control type programs. Humberto Rice Garcia, the PAN candidate who lost recent elections in Matzalam and who is now heading up the alternative city government, which the PAN has installed in Sinaloa, port city, with so much fanfare, is a member of one of the nastiest Hitler cult formations to arrive on the Mexican scene in the past 2 years. Integral Human Development Incorporated, DHAC, DHIAC's hardcore includes the controllers of the Nazi paramilitary gangs, the GUIA, and the Ticos, based in Puebla and Puebla in Mexico City. The pan federal congresswoman from Chihuahua, Paritza Ortuno, is directing preparations for the first national congress of the Women's Civil Organization Civil Femenina, the women's auxiliary of the DHIAC. Through the public side of the Nazi Communist Alliance, though the public side has only emerged in the past 2 months, the two forces have collaborated for several years. The PAN is consciously representing the tradition of the bloody rebellion of backward peasants organized by Jesuit priests against the Mexican state in the 1920s, the Cristero Wars. In 1980, the PSUM joined the PAN in demanding that the clergy banned by the Mexican Constitution from participating in politics be given rights not only to make political statements but to run for political office, which makes absolutely no sense. Clergy is not supposed to run for political office, even by the church's standards. It was a political bombshell, but perhaps not that surprising given that the Red Bishop of Cuernavaca, Sergio Mendez Arqueo, has started out his career as a Cristero in the 1930s. And he also welcomed Archbishop and defended Archbishop Lefebvre when he came to Mexico. The two parties similarly share a greeny hatred of advanced technology and industry. In April 1981, the East German anti-technology and peace movement, started by Guru Rudolf Barrow, visited Mexico. He was jointly hosted by the terrorist ecologist PRT party and prominent factions of PAN. The PAN's leading ideologue and former party resident Jose Angel Concello attended the Fourth World Futurist Conference in Washington, 1982, and sang the praises of, wait for it, E.F. Schumacher, who coined "small is beautiful" as an economic model. E.F. Schumacher, who was a solidarist follower of E. Michael Jones's favorite economist, Heinrich Pesch. Heinrich Pesch, who was sponsored by the Wittelsbacher family, which is one of the original Bilderberg families, as his greatest model next to Milton Friedman. So this is the PAN party's leading ideologue and former party president, Jose Angel Concello. And I imagine this is something that, like the Twitter, Tumblr personality, Wrath of Nyan, believes in. I'm sure he's a big E.F. Schumacher fan. It was Concello who in the mid-1970s began to popularize the successful economic policies of Hitler's finance minister Hjalmar Schacht as the correct road for Mexico. Gee, why do all these conservative Catholics love solidarism and Hjalmar Schacht? Perhaps most seriously, from a security standpoint, is that these areas of ideological convergence map onto the ground alliances of terrorist-linked forces on the U.S.-Mexican border. The paradigm is the left terrorist squatters called the Committee for Popular Defense, CDP, in Ciudad Juarez, across the river from El Paso, Texas. The CDP, which maintains maintains active liaison with both the Falun, FALN, and the Revolutionary Communist Party in the United States, was instrumental in the election of the first pan mayor of Ciudad Juarez in July 1983. The PAN, for its part, has in past turned out its members to join the funeral processions of terrorists deployed jointly by the CDP and Communist 23rd of September League, responsible for repeated acts of against U.S. diplomatic personnel in early 1970s. So there it is. That's the article. That's how it was. Well, this the point of the article, though, Raphael, is that I don't know why the messages are retracted if someone from the outside is policing them or not. I have no idea. Um, but yeah, the far left party, probably descendant of really the far left party today is called Morena. That's really weird because the Morena party in Colombia, I believe, was far right and was a narco terrorist group that TFP was a joint partner in. Morena, Mexico. But yeah, I wish this article would talk more about the FBI. I imagine that this kind of thing would fall under FBI counterintelligence, which is, uh, I believe, Division 5. And Division 5 was like stuffed with all these British intelligence individuals since the foundation of Camp X in um, in Canada, where a lot of our CIA was trained by the Special Operations Executive. And then there was also the whole issue with basically that New York clique around Meyer Lansky and Roy Cohn and all of those individuals um, blackmailing the leader of Division 5. And so it's kind of always been completely useless in terms of counterintelligence and basically a pawn of the Anglo American establishment. But it's an olive skinned party, tan skinned Virgin Mary. Uh, so it's a social democratic cardinist party. It's constitutionalist. Nito Mosquito. So I guess Moreno, the 2018 election was Morena and the Socialist Labor Party and the right wing conservative Social Encounter Party under the name, and there's coalition was Juntos Hermos Historia. So, the same kind of garbage going on here. Interdasting. So you have this this completely like centrist, leftist, right wing synarchist party here. And I guess if everything's local control, I mean that's not how all of Mexico is, but a lot of places Mexico it's like that. That would make a lot of sense. Like just believe whatever you want wherever you are, and listen to the drug dealers, and you're good. Anyway, that's the show. I'll come up with something else here. I think I might read a article on the melons or something else, maybe more in depth on this whole issue. So have a good one. Bye bye. See you later.